Hello everyone to Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest goes sixth in the Premier League with today's 1-0 win over Ipswich Town, ending that run of consecutive defeats nicely. Joining me to discuss the game in full and looking ahead a little bit to the Man City game midweek, first of all, is Paul Morley. Paul, good to have you with us this evening. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excellent. I'm definitely feeling better after a clean sheet, gritty 1-0 win. Definitely back to being last in the running order on Match of the Day and flying under the radar, which suits us best. Which is just what the doctor ordered before a week away in sunny Manchester for a double header.
Certainly, we are absolutely nailed on for last on Match of the Day. Having looked at the other games, I would say yes. Simon Fotheringham, how are you this evening?
I'm very well, Matt. Thanks. Happy. Frustrated for great lengths of the game, to be honest, today. But as Paul says, they're the sort of games that we haven't normally won in the past. So to grind out a 1-0 win, keep a clean sheet, 3 points, point off second place as well. Bizarre, but great fun.
Is that how you look at it as well, Paul? Some people in the chat are going to say, oh, those are the games we lose. We got through, we played well. Others say, I've seen a couple of comments saying we're not playing very well. We got away with it, etc., etc. Where are you on that?
I didn't think we were terrible today. I thought the game pretty much panned out as a lot of people, well, certainly as I expected. I mean, you guys talked a lot in the week ahead about how Ipswich weren't going to, they're not a team to sit back. So there's going to be opportunities for us to counter and them to get us. And I think that first half, certainly the first 10, 15 minutes was a bit of a whirlwind, wasn't it? There was obviously Jota sort of set the tone after 15, 20 seconds and then we had a few chances and then they kind of countered us, got a few corners in a row. And it was sort of a bit of a basketball game for the first 15, 20 minutes and then it sort of settled down a bit. But I think they showed that they were a decent side. And I think in the first half, we kind of, without obviously posing a massive threat, we looked dangerous. And then I thought the first 15 minutes of the second half, obviously when we scored, we took control and probably should have put the game away. And we had 2 or 3 opportunities to do that and we didn't quite do it. But then, having sort of recognised that opportunity that we had to kill the game, we didn't do it. We then reverted to actually let's just see it out, and we did that, I think, relatively comfortably. So I think all in all, it was like Father said, there was some frustrating moments because we probably could have taken the game away from them. But we did what we needed to do. We saw it out pretty well. And look, if we win 1-0 every week in the last on Match of the Day in a boring game, I think most of us will be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think that's my main takeaway. I thought we were decent. We weren't great. I think you can underestimate Ipswich in a sense that I think they're significantly better than Leicester and Southampton. And I thought they actually came and played quite well. They were attacking, but also wasted a lot of time to control when they attacked and kept it 0-0 in the first half and were frustrating. But I thought we were fine. I thought we weren't too bad at all. What did you make of Ipswich, Fathers?
To be honest, I expected more from them. I thought, having heard reports and seen some of the results they've been having, I thought that they would be different to a lot of teams, and I was a bit disappointed. I thought they were time wasting. In the first couple of minutes, the guy, the fullback number 3, who kept coming across in front of me, I'm Trent End Upper, and he kept wandering over to take corners like it was a Sunday afternoon, and it was like. And that was in the 3rd minute, and so I was getting a bit frustrated because I wanted us to get on with it, but I also felt that the first goal was going to be crucial because if they had got it, I can only imagine how the game against Tottenham went when they won 1-0 there. You can just imagine that the ball, the ball would have been in play for about 5 minutes for the whole of the second half. It was just very frustrated with some of their players. But they've got to fight and they want to stay up, don't they? And they're scrapping for points. But they clearly came for one today, and I felt that they got everything they deserved, and that was nothing from it, to be honest.
I think that's a good point, Paul. You had to get the first goal against them because Muric would have stood on the ball for 90 minutes if he could have and taken a point. So the fact we got that first goal and maybe should have got the second was probably the biggest thing today in a sense.
Yeah, maybe. I think we've got to think back to a couple of years ago. If we were in their position, we'd probably approach those sort of games in the same way. So I don't think we can be too harsh on them for doing what they did. I'd say they came to get a point, didn't work out for them. But I do think they showed in flashes that they're a decent side, and maybe that's they probably should have done that more. They might have caused us a bit more trouble. But I think look, ultimately, it was a game that we talked about this in the week, that coming off the back of back-to-back defeats, if you could pick a fixture, you want to be at home against a team in the bottom three that's just got promoted. That's an ideal opportunity to get back to winning ways. And however, whichever way we managed it, we did that today, and that was kind of that was what the doctor ordered, and that's what we delivered. So I think we should all be pretty satisfied ultimately.
I think so. I'm not knocking Ipswich's approach. I think, like you say, you're correct that we would have done that. In fact, we should have done more of that in the first couple of seasons. We probably lacked a bit of that nous that they have. I think they're very well coached. But let's talk more about us. Go all the way back to team news, Fothers. You read it out at the NAV when it was announced. 5 changes. Any players you feel particularly sorry for? Did you like the lineup? What did you make of it?
No, I thought. I mean, considering the Arsenal game, unfortunately, I didn't see the Arsenal game last week. I was flying, so I landed to the news that we'd lost 3-0, which was a bit disappointing. So, and obviously, you lose 3-0 at Arsenal. I've not seen the highlights, but I've spoken to enough people who felt that it was time for Elanga to go. So that wasn't a surprise to me. I'm a big fan of Alex Moreno, and I would have probably stuck with him. Again, I didn't see the Arsenal game, so apologies if he had a particularly bad game against Saka. But Saka is one probably right now. So I think Gibbs-White had to come back in, didn't he? Anderson had to come back in, and I think Ward-Prowse was the right one to lose his place for that. I think the decisions he made were probably all the right ones. And Chris Wood had to come back for Taiwo, didn't he? I mean, I would have probably started Chris Wood at Arsenal, to be honest. I know he was a bit jet lagged and he'd been travelling halfway around the world, but yeah, I think certainly 4 of the 5 changes I would agree with, definitely.
Thank you very much, by the way, to Dr. Rowe Chemistry, interesting name, for signing up for membership. I appreciate that. And if everyone could do us a quick favour and hit like, or 370 people with us, just take a second to do that, if you would. Makes a big difference. I think for me, I mean, I liked the team. I thought it was strong enough to win the game. I felt a bit for Dominguez, because I feel like he hasn't really done too much wrong. But like I think Pete said on Thursday, and I agreed with him, I thought Nuno would drop Dominguez before he dropped Ryan Yates, rightly or wrongly. So I wasn't necessarily shocked by that. I did feel a bit for Moreno as well. He's been exposed against a couple of top wingers, particularly Saka. But then we don't know. I don't think in the last couple of years at Villa he's had a long run of games. Certainly not for a while. He's had a lot of injuries, so I can see why that was the one. But do you feel for Dominguez, Paul, or did you back that Yates was retained over him?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think I was certainly not surprised that Anderson got back inside. I think Nuno. It feels like when he's fit, Nuno wants Anderson in his starting 11. So I wasn't surprised by that, and I'm not surprised that Yates stayed on the side. I think Dominguez unfortunate to be the fall guy, but. Look, I think over the course of a season, it's a massive squad effort, and I think as long as the conversations are going on in the background, that it's explained to Dominguez that he's come in, he's done well, he'll get another opportunity for sure because of the injuries, suspensions, etc. I think Yates is only 1 booking away from a suspension, so Dominguez will certainly get his chances, and I don't think there's any slight on him that he didn't start today. I think probably one I was most surprised was Williams coming in for Moreno, and I know. Last week against Saka, he had a bit of a torrid time, but I don't know if anyone's watched the Arsenal game this evening, but Saka gives most people a pretty torrid time. So I don't think Moreno's in bad company by having an indifferent game against Saka. And maybe it was more a case of last week he didn't have the support from the rest of the team to sort of double up on Saka, and he got left exposed a bit too much. And whether that's Nuno's fault or whether it's players not putting plans into action, not sure. So yeah, I think ultimately the team was solid. Nico again, he thought he had a solid game. Probably a little bit wasteful from the free kicks. I'm sure we'll talk about that. I think we had 3 free kicks pretty much in the same position, didn't we, in the first half that he took. That maybe given that Anderson was on corners, he possibly could have took them as well. But yeah, team selection was solid, and I think it was good to retain the same shape. And again, I'm not surprised that Jota came in for Elanga. Again, no slight on Elanga. I think we saw probably a couple of seasons ago that Alanga seems to be in a bit of a similar space that Johnson Brennan was in for at this sort of time of the season, and Cooper sort of took him out the firing line and gave him a few weeks off and actually came back better for it. So, maybe we're going to see that with Alanga over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And how good a position? Sorry, Matt. How good a position are we in as well when we can bring players like Nico Dominguez on, and bringing Alanga on for the last 20 minutes when they're tiring? We've got a really, really good squad now, and I think the starting lineup was the right one. Like I say, with the exception of Moreno for Williams, but apart from that, and the way that we can bring players on from the bench and change it if we need to or not, we're in a pretty good position, aren't we?
Yeah, certainly. I think, like Dan points out here as well, like we've got Man City. I think I wouldn't be surprised Dominguez came in for Anderson, who's been carrying an injury, and then other players. Maybe Moreno comes straight back in as well. I think it is obviously a squad game, so we'll see how that one goes with a lot of minutes to get through this week. Let's talk a little bit about people are noting about Nico on free kicks as well. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Jota as well. Just on Nico on the free kicks. Fothers maybe at the other end of the ground, but Muric just comes for everything. So should Nico maybe mix them up a little bit?
Yeah, they were poor. I don't know why he was taking them. We've just had the conversation there. Paul just mentioned Elliot Anderson's on the field. Why is he taking them? Why is Gibbs White not dinking one in? I don't understand why a player who's not been in the starting lineup all of a sudden gets a place in the starting lineup and then takes all the dangerous free kicks. And we had some really, really good positions. There was one bit where Aina was going across, looked like he was going to take one, and I'm like, yeah, go on, let Ola Aina put one in, but again Williams took it, Muric caught it, and the danger was over. So yeah, that was a bit frustrating, and I'd like to understand what the thinking was behind Williams on free kicks.
I think he's on free kicks for Wales. I think he takes quite a lot of dead balls, and we did have Anderson, so I was surprised he didn't take them. He did go for goal with the second of the three, which I thought was quite clever to try and keep Muric honest, but he just thought, screw it, I'm just going to come for everything anyway. He kept coming for it, so maybe we should have mixed them up a bit, but I thought Nico was okay. What about Jota, Paul? Lots of people lobbying for Jota to come in. I defended that Elanga, but I've got no complaints at all that Jota started. It made a lot of sense. How do you think he did? Yeah,
I thought he did pretty well. Again, you know what you're going to get with him, I think, from what we've seen. Full of energy, a bit of a pest, isn't he? Obviously won the penalty, won a few free kicks, probably got one or two of their players booked. So, I think if you're giving him a brief of what to do and how to affect the game, he certainly did that. I think as I said earlier, he set the tone, didn't he, in the first minute with that sort of 1-2 up the line and won a corner. There's a couple of times where he probably was a little bit wasteful. I think he hit across shinned it over the bar or outside the foot over the bar when he had a good opportunity to get the ball across. But I think, again, with all the wingers, I think you're going to get a bit of a mixed bag because they are they're putting the ball at risk all the time. They're in those situations where, unless you are a Saka or a real top quality winger, which I don't think any of ours are at that level, you're going to get a little bit of a mixed bag. Kind of reminded me a bit of, for those that are old enough to remember, Franz Carr back in the 80s. Got the ability to go on and beat a defender, full of energy, full of buzz, but you're not quite sure what you're going to get from an end product. And I think that was probably a bit like Jota today. But yeah, can't complain. Thought he definitely lived up to his billing as a starting player and gave as good as he could have done.
Did we see kind of everything that he is for us? Even in the first minute, he's kind of hustling and bustling to win a corner. And he's incredibly ragged. Like, he's so unpolished, but he has moments, and you can see why fans love him. He's won a penalty. So yeah, I quite liked him. What did you make of him?
Yeah, he's infectious, isn't he? He just runs around, but he's got quality as well. When he was coming towards us in the second half, towards the Trent end down the right hand side, there were a few times where he got in behind the defender, and he is. He's unpolished. He's like an unpolished Jack Grealish, isn't he? He's just you can just imagine in the next, if he gets a run in the side now. And gets up, because I don't know whether he lacks a little bit of fitness as well that maybe Elanga doesn't. I don't know. He looked like he was knackered towards the end, but he was It was his first start, wasn't it? So it's apart from the Newcastle game in the cup. So I think he puts himself about. I think he's got some skill. I think he makes the defenders worry. You don't know where he's going to pop up, what he's going to do. I don't think half the time he does, to be honest. But got in the box, made that run into the box, won the penalty, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, and effectively won the game for us by winning that penalty. So I've been a little bit disappointed with Elanga this year. And I know for a few weeks now, a lot of my friends on the podcast have been calling for Jota Silva to come in, and I don't think he disappointed, did he?
No. He's quite. I really enjoy watching him. Well, there was a moment where we played a really clever free kick down the side. You think, oh, here we go, and he just fell over. Then he gets straight back up, and he's right back after them. It's like he plays like a kid in the park, but he's obviously got a lot of quality as well. So yeah, I hope he gets more starts. I think Elanga coming out the firing line isn't a bad set. I would have liked to see how Elanga did with space to run into today, like Jota had a little bit of, but he did well for me. What about Hudson-Odoi, Paul? He's getting. I think Gary Birtles sounds like he was giving some hammer on the Premier League World feed today. People in the chat noticing it. I had a couple of WhatsApps about it as well. Has Gary got a point? Is he way off it or not?
So Hudson-Odoi didn't have a good game today. I think everyone can concur with that, and I think yes, our friend Mr. Birtles was on the feed that I was watching was very. Almost from the get go was kind of was at him. One thing I would say is I don't think he shirked his responsibilities today. So sometimes if a player's having a bad game, and you could probably hear it, the crowd every time he sort of didn't quite deliver, groans and stuff, and some players can sort of shrink and hide away at that point. But I don't think he did that. He kept offering himself. He kept getting in good positions. He kept trying. And nothing came off him today. He just had one of those days where literally everything he tried didn't work. But I can't fault his willingness to try and affect the game. And I think that's what you want. When players are not having a good day, they can either go one or two ways. As I say, you can go hiding, or you can keep looking for the ball and keep trying to make an impact. And I definitely thought he did the latter today. So look, we all know what the quality that Hudson-Odoi's got. He's shown it time and again. I don't think we should be too down on him. He wasn't great again last week against Arsenal, but like I said, I think the whole team was off it last week. So I think we don't need to necessarily be too down against Hudson-Odoi. He will pop up in the next month or so with some magic moments. I'm sure that whether it's a goal or an assist, we all know what he's got in him. So let's just back him in a difficult time, and he'll come good again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think he did. He always wanted the ball. Is he just lacking a bit of confidence for us to take his man on? I think Tuanzebe felt like he had his number all day.
I wonder if we're expecting too much from him. I think he's, there's a reason that it didn't work out for him at Chelsea, and his career came off the rails a bit. I know there's been injuries and things, but I don't know. I think he frightens the defenders. You could see that. They were as soon as he got the ball, there were two on him. So. They've worked out that his danger is cutting inside as well. So they're sort of cutting that out. I didn't think he was too bad today. I'm gonna defend him a little bit. I'm gonna go against Gary Birtles, and I'm gonna defend him. I'm gonna defend him a little bit. I thought, yes, he didn't have one of his better games, but and maybe I'm looking in the comments. Maybe it's time to give him a rest as well, and do what we did at Anfield at Man City on Wednesday night, and use him in the last 20-25 minutes. But no, I think we're always looking for a scapegoat, aren't we, as Forest fans? And it's been Elanga, and now it's maybe moving on to Callum Hudson-Odoi, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah, I think I do have a gripe about his defending, but I don't think he was so bad today. He did his bit. Confidence player might be right from Tony. Confidence plays such a part in football, and I think maybe he's just lacking it a little bit. So let's see if he when he next starts, see how he does against Man United, if he gets the start or not. But he wasn't awful. He was much better than he was against Arsenal, but he wasn't overly good, to be honest. Right, let's take a quick word for the Trent Navigation. Thanks as ever for their backing. Hope people enjoyed the Beatles Dub Club or Dubstep, whatever it's called. It's gone now, so I can get that wrong, but hopefully people enjoyed it. Next thing on the agenda, I think coming up is the Rick Parfitt Jr. Christmas gig. I think there's still a few tickets going, so here's what you can expect if you do snap them up from gigantic.com. Good to see people at the NAV today, by the way. I saw Fothers. Went with my daughter, who's yet to see us lose in the Premier League. She's very much getting into it, so that's good. She wanted us to try and attack more late in the game and score more goals, so maybe we'll come on to that. But yeah, we'll get back into it with the penalty, the Chris Wood goal. I was there, so I haven't seen much of. Well, I haven't even seen a replay yet, to be honest. So I'll watch one later. But looks like a penalty from 50 yards away. Paul, was it or not?
It was one of those sort of 50-50s, I think. Once the referee gave it, it's not going to be overturned. I must admit, I was probably a bit surprised when the referee gave it. And maybe that's just from a Forest sort of mindset, in that we never get these sort of 50-50 decisions. So it was pleasing to see him give it. And once he gave it, it's never going to be overturned. I thought that Wood had another couple of shouts after that, and there's one after Murillo hit the bar that sort of Wood got in a tangle. That was not a penalty. And then there's one where Gibbs White played Wood through, or forced him sort of wide in the box, and the young, I can't remember the name, the Swedish guy came across and took him out. I thought that was more of a penalty. I was more up for a penalty, appealing for a penalty than the one that was given. So I think all in all, we probably had, two sort of 50-50 shouts, which we got one of them, didn't get the other. So yeah, I think it evened itself out, and it was probably, we were definitely worthy of one penalty for sure.
A couple of people asking about members' Christmas social in the chat. There is one. I'll drop the details in the community tab. So if you sign up for membership, you can come along to our Christmas social at the NAV and our summer one as well. What about you, Fathers? You were behind that goal, so you had a better view than me. Did you think we should have one or two penalties, or neither?
I think it was one, and I think it was the one that was given. There was definitely contact. He's gone down. He's gone down a bit theatrical, to be honest, but it's Jota Silva, so he's going to, isn't he? Like you said earlier, when he just fell over, so he's going to go down theatrically. But there was contact. So and as Paul says, the referee's given it. They're not going to overturn it. The one where Gibbs White played Woody in. I was convinced it was a penalty at the time, but I've watched it back on the TV when I got home, and I think there's a faint touch on the ball, Paul, isn't there? I thought
it was a penalty watching it, but I've not. I must admit, I didn't see the. It was obviously a replay which you've seen, which I may not have done. So
on the ball, yeah, he just gets a touch on the ball just before Woody goes over his leg. The other one, I haven't seen the other one back. So the one from Murillo's header, which was a tremendous save actually from Muric, but yeah, not sure about that one.
I'm just looking who the ref was. How was the
Tony
ref?
Harrington.
Tony Harrington. He was slightly infuriating in the ground. Certainly. What did you make of him watching from the front?
I thought he was okay. Look, there's nothing massively controversial, probably, unless if you're an Ipswich fan, probably with a penalty. But no, I thought he had a solid game. He was. It seemed like he was trying to let it flow. There was obviously a few moments where he blew up. I think there's one actually. Gibbs White's yellow card was a little bit seemed a little bit over officious, but all in all, I thought the ref was solid.
Yeah, you got a few I didn't like. Go on, Fathers. Give you.
I was just saying, I think the problems the ref has, and this is why it incites the crowd so much, is literally 2 minutes after, or less than 2 minutes after Gibbs White gets booked for pulling the guy's shirt in the corner by the Trent End main stand. One of our players gets pulled back by his shirt, and he doesn't get booked. Sorry, gets pulled back, and the Ipswich player didn't get booked, and that's what sort of frustrates. It's the consistency, isn't it? You're going to book Gibbs White for pulling somebody's shirt, and then a minute later, you don't book the Ipswich player for doing pretty much exactly the same thing, and that's what I get frustrated with, and I think most of the people around me were the same.
Yeah, he wasn't the worst ref of the season, if that's saying anything. I don't think he was terrible. There was a couple of ones. There was one where. Maybe because I was right behind you, but Elanga ran past a guy, he pushed his arm out, and he went down, and he's waved play on. It was the most obvious foul, but yeah, inconsistent. But as James says, he got the big decisions right. I mean, I think giving the penalty was the main one, obviously, so not the worst one to dwell on. Chris Wood, 24 Premier League goals, level with Brian Roy now, which is fantastic, obviously. I was very nervous that he was going to score the penalty. I don't know why. Was he always going to bury that, Fathers?
Yeah, it was never in doubt, was it? He's just, I always think back to the conversations we had over the summer when we were desperate for a striker and a goalkeeper, and probably two of our best players, are Matt Sells and Chris Wood. And as he was stepping up for the penalty, and Matt, you watched the game with me, the West Ham game, and we were 3-0 up, and I was still nervous. we got that penalty today, and it was just like I just felt, Muric is a big goalkeeper, and if anybody's going to have a chance of saving it, it's probably him. But no, he's just a goal machine at the moment, isn't he? And I don't think I think I'd ever say that, but yeah, and most goals in the Premier League for Forest in the club's history. I mean, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? And he's going to break Brian Roy's record on Wednesday night when he gets the winner at Man City, and everybody's going to be singing his name and having his name on the shirt, aren't they? So happy days.
It is slightly strange that he's a goal machine, Paul, because I don't think we created very much for him again today, did we? Yeah, he stepped up and he's got the goal. I mean, penalties count as much as anything else, but yeah, he's just so consistent, isn't he?
Yeah, he didn't have a huge amount, did he? There's one, obviously, that early opportunity where Hudson-Odoi cut inside and Wood was screaming for it, and he could have given it him, and he pretty much had the half an open goal, and then Hudson-Odoi shot, and then it ended up coming to Yates, and the ball went out for a corner, didn't it? So, yeah, again, Woody got himself in good positions. Again, like the one we talked about, which was it a penalty, was it not a penalty? Morgan's through ball was slightly overhit and forced him wide, and better ball he could have been in 1-on-1. So again, he got himself in good positions, and then the one big chance that he had from the spot, he absolutely smashed it, and had the net got in the way, I think the ball would still be halfway towards I don't know whichever direction that's in, Gedling maybe, or Cotgrave or somewhere like that. Not Cotgrave, Calverton, if it had gone in there, if the net hadn't been there. So yeah, all power to Woody. He had a solid game, and another goal to add to his tally is brilliant to see.
Yeah, he's
in my fantasy team, which is a bonus as well.
He's in mine as well, and Saka is, thankfully. He wasn't until about Friday afternoon, but he is. He's a better penalty taker than Morgan as well. Or I'm more confident when he takes a penalty. It feels like he's more likely to bury it. So yeah, happy he's on it, as Greg says in the chat as well. I think that's certainly a fair point. What about us in the first half overall, Fothers? A couple of times, like Morgan's trying to play probably an overly ambitious ball, and it felt like to me like we were slightly unstructured, and Ipswich seemed to know exactly what they are. I thought they had a really good spell from like 15 minutes to 35 minutes, and they were on top. But were you still comfortable? Did you feel confident that we had them at arm's length all that time?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's mainly because the back four are just so good, aren't they, at the moment? Murillo and we've not talked about Murillo and Milenkovic yet today, but those two were just never in doubt again today. Whether you just have so much confidence when the ball's going in the box. Okay, Aina's cleared one off the line, and Sells has made a good save, but that's expected, isn't it? You're gonna, Aina's doing that because he's a good defender. Sells is doing that because he's a good goalkeeper. So no, I thought it was okay. I was frustrated at half time, to be honest, because I felt that they were there for the taking, and I didn't think that we were perhaps, like you just said there, they didn't seem the right sort of structure. They didn't seem the right sort of urgency to it. Callum was struggling. I thought he played better second half than he did first half, actually. But yeah, we just didn't really look like scoring, did we? We didn't. I mean, there was Yates's chance that went wide, that was sort of cleared off the line, but I think it was going wide anyway. There was the Hudson-Odoi chance when he should have just tapped it to Wood, and then we maybe score. But apart from that, and all the free kicks that Williams kept chipping to Muric, there was nothing really to get excited about. And I suppose for me, I think I was just frustrated because I didn't think they were that good. And I thought their two centre halves aren't that good. And I thought if we got at them, then we'd be successful. And sure enough, we'd come out all guns blazing, start the second half, and you 1-0 up, maybe should have been 2 or 3 in quick succession.
I thought Hutchinson and Chaplin were good for them. I didn't think anyone else was massively good. We'll come on to Delap because I built him up so much and how well he was defended against. But I thought they carried a decent threat going forwards. I mean, their players on paper, Connor Chaplin, I didn't even know who he was until I looked at, I had to see who's the number 10 for them. He looks a decent player, but they're doing very well to be competing. But yeah, we're better than them, and I think overall we deserve to win, I would say. What about the second half then, Paul? Did we take control mostly in midfield, and that's what gave us more control through Anderson, Gibbs White, and Yates? Do you think, or not?
Yeah, we did. I think that I said that first 15 minutes or so of the second half was where the game was won from our perspective, and as Father said, arguably should have been won a bit more convincingly. Had we had a bit more of a sort of killer instinct, we probably could have got 2 or 3 in that time. Yeah, midfield played well in that period. I think we just dominated the ball. I think there was a stat. I think for the first 15 minutes we had 68 or 70% of possession in that first 15 minutes of the second half. So whatever Nuno said at half time, it just sort of translated through. And obviously the early goal probably knocked them a little bit. And then they were on the back foot for a good 10 minutes or so after the penalty. I think that's where we just got to get a bit smarter in games. If we can really kill off games when we have the opportunity, that's still a massive learning point for us. And not necessarily have to revert to that Morato coming on and back 5 for 15 minutes, because we probably should be 2 or 3-0 ahead already. Certainly in games like today. So like Father said, a bit frustrating we didn't kill it off, but maybe on another day, obviously Murillo's header hit the bar, didn't it? If that had gone in 2-0 up with 62, 63 minutes gone, whatever it was, maybe it would have been a bit more of a coast after that. But again, even said that, I can't think of too many opportunities that they really had. There was one, I think Jack Clark had a shot which went straight at Sells, which was probably about 21, 22 minutes to go. Can't think of a huge amount else that they had. Certainly Delap, we kept really quiet. I think he had a couple of moments in the first half where he looked bright. I think Murillo sort of blocked one, didn't it? Went out for a corner, but by and large we kept them quiet. And there was that save that you referred to earlier that Sells had to get down to in the first half. But yeah, second half we managed the game pretty well. I think from once we went 1-0 ahead, should have been 2 or 3, but actually didn't really look under too much pressure to concede an equaliser.
Big arm references. Our usual change was made. I'm not sure what minute it was. It felt like about 70, 75. I can't quite remember. With Morato coming on for Gibbs White in this case. It was back to the wall. I just think the problem was, Fathers, we carry a threat on the counter in those situations. We just couldn't get out today. There was no threat going the other way for some reason, whatever it was, once we went to the back 5.
No, there wasn't. We weren't picking up any loose balls on the edge of the box, were we? And it was just for 10 minutes. It was a little bit sort of very scary, wasn't it? It was. We seemed to be sitting deeper and deeper without that outlet, like you say. And I don't know what that was. I don't know whether that's because Anderson and Gibbs White had both gone. So that quality just outside the box that could find the passes to Sousa or Alanga weren't there. But yeah, it just felt like we just didn't have the outlet that we normally have, and we seemed to be sitting deeper and deeper. But just going back to what you were saying about some of the Ipswich players, I looked at their side today, and I don't think there's any of their 11 that I would want at Forest. I know you've talked about Delap, Matt, on the podcast and stuff, but I mean, you look at the Newcastle game, the last game we lost at home, and you look at their front 4, and you're like, well, yeah, we could probably do with all 4 of them. But today there was nothing, was there? Sammy Schmodix is championship at best, isn't he? And Connor Chaplin, however good he was, he's probably a top end championship player. So I mean that was the thing that frustrated me. I was looking at it and thinking we are better than these, and maybe that change today to a back 5 was not necessary. But that's what Nuno does. And we've won 1-0 and kept a clean sheet, so happy days.
I'm still backing Delap. We'll come on to that in one sec. And I do think Hutchinson was the best winger on the pitch. I know Jota won a penalty, but I thought Hutchinson gave Nico Williams quite a lot of problems, especially first half. You can see why he's quite highly rated, certainly. What was I going to say? I've forgotten where I was. Oh, yeah, Delap. Sorry, yeah. Bigged him up so much, Paul, but Milenkovic and Murillo, I mean, they just had his number, especially Milenkovic, didn't he? He just had his number all day.
Yeah, I thought both centre-backs were really solid, weren't they? I think it's interesting, isn't it, the way we're sort of reflecting on today's game against Ipswich and almost sort of being overcritical, I think, of Forest. I think if that had been 1-0 against Fulham, or I know we would have lost against Fulham, but against a team that was a bit higher up in the table, we'd be singing Forest sort of praises today about how well we did to sort of negate the threat and this, that, and the other. And I think we still need to be mindful of that. They didn't really have apart from the one you talked about earlier, Fathers, where Delap took it off of Chaplin's toes. I can't really think of any major threat that they posed. So yeah, and key to that was, you're right, Matt, was the centre backs. Milenkovic and Murillo were solid. Just again proving that they are amongst the top probably 4 or 5 partnerships in the league, I think. And again, let's come back to it. It was what the doctor ordered today. Nuno talked about it in his pre-match conferences, press conferences. We want a clean sheet. We got one. So what more can you ask for? We did exactly what was asked of us. And now we've got to build on that, and that we've got to sort of reset a platform after a couple of defeats, that we can now take some real positivity into the next couple of games, where I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure we'll come to talk about it, but if we're sitting here this time next week 2 points better off than we are now, everybody's going to be pretty delighted, I think. Whether that'll happen or not, I've no idea, but that's got to be a possibility going into those games after what we've seen today.
Yeah, I think so. Do us a favour, as Peter says, almost 500 people with us, which is great. If you don't mind hitting the like button for 1 second, that would be magnificent. This is Elliot, I think, Shadow Cat Stories. Murillo's supposed to watch live, unlucky not to score. Absolutely insane, rampaging, barnstorming run after he won the ball off 3 players for us. So close to those moments of magic. But I think the main thing is that he defended well, and basically, first and foremost.
He's just a great all-round player, is he? I mean, what a footballer! The way he pings the passes. I mean, there weren't too many passes today, were there? But you can almost see when Milenkovic gets it, he looks for Murillo straight away, because he knows he's going to either lump it forward or head it forward. Whereas Murillo's not. He's gonna find that pass, or he's going to do what he does. And the header, I thought Jota Silva did really well to hook the ball back in, and then Murillo to get the power on the header. Because it was sort of looping across, and he got the power on the header. And I think Muric has made a brilliant save, hasn't he? Paul, you said it hit the bar, but it looked like it was or did he palm it onto
the bar? Yeah.
Tipped it onto the bar, yeah. So it's a tremendous save, and then it's just dropped and could have gone anywhere. And that was the other one where Woody was claiming a penalty, wasn't he? But no, I think absolutely right. He's just a pleasure to watch, isn't he? It's so nice to see a footballer that has time on the ball, that rolls his foot along the top of it, pings passes around, but also gets his head on everything, gets stuck in, wins tackles, marauding runs. We're lucky, aren't we? We're lucky to have him.
Yeah, we'll enjoy him while we've got him. It's a conversation for another day, certainly. But just before we come on to the City game and just our thoughts on who our man in the match was, I've seen a few shouts in the chat. Thank you very much to Nottingham Window Company for their backing. If you're looking for new windows heading into Christmas, a wonderful Christmas present for your partner is a whole house full of new windows. That's what I'm saying tonight. So, or just a door if you want, then get in touch with Nottingham Window Company. Link will be in the description for this episode, no doubt. So thank you very much to them. Right, we got your Christmas trees up, chaps, by the way, while I was thinking about that.
Not yet.
Tomorrow?
Next weekend, I think, is our purchase window for Christmas trees.
I might get shot for this next statement, but I don't think we're having one.
What?
I don't think we're doing it. I had a conversation with my wife last week when we're on holiday, and she's like, "Well, you can do it if you want," and I'm like, "Well, you can do one if you want," and I'm sorry. Maybe a bit closer to Christmas, I'll get in the festive spirit, Matt.
Is this because you put that thing behind you, Fathers? You can put some lights around that. Look.
Around that, yeah, this one, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
right. You need to decorate
just do that. Just put some fairy lights around that next time. Exactly.
Yeah. Is it because your daughter's in Australia and you've lost the Christmas spirit? If it's just the two of you, or not? I'm delving into your relationship here. Sorry.
Listen, I don't want to go deep, Matt, but I lost my mum on Boxing Day and my dad 2 weeks before Christmas, and my daughter's left me to live in Australia, so Christmas can do one this year, to be honest. But no, let's not get deep. I do like Christmas. I do like opening presents, and I actually like giving presents more than I like opening them, to be honest. But Christmas trees are just too much hassle. And I'll see. I might give it a go.
Do it. I mean, if this wasn't live, I'd edit that bit out now because I feel terrible.
It's fine. It's fine, Matt. It was only last year that I lost my. No, I'm joking.
Let's get back to football quickly. Retreat. Right, man of the match for each of you. I've seen a few shouts. Drop them in the chat if you like. Who your man of the match? I've seen a few, quite a lot of Aiden shouts. Paul, who was your man of the match?
Yeah, I think Aina just shaded it for me. Obviously, I think all in all, it was a pretty much all-round 7 out of 10 performance for most players. Don't think anyone really stood out massively, but Aina in key moments. So obviously the clearance off the line in the first half, and then second half, I think it was just we were going into injury time. They were sort of threatening to break, and he did a brilliant sliding challenge and got himself over the ball, won a free kick, and just everything that he does just typifies the attitude that you want to see from people in the team. He just never gave up. It was all the way through the game, he actually kept their left hand side quiet. I think they were one of their left hand side is obviously where they attack most, and he pretty much shut that down most of the game. I think the other one I will shout out was for Anderson. I know he went off after 60 minutes or so, but I thought Anderson was really good for the time he was on the pitch, and obviously the centre backs that we mentioned. So yeah, for me, Aina just shaded man of the match.
That's a good point, because Leif Davies just played really attacking. I noticed their warm-up. They actually didn't even warm up with a back four. They warmed up with a back three and two in front of them when they were doing, when the coach throws it and the defender heads it, and that's how they were warming up. Davies was with the attackers, so maybe that's just how they view him, not as he's nominally a left back. So that's a good point about Aina. Looking at a few other names then, Robert is a genius, says Milenkovic. Owen says Milenkovic. Another Milenkovic shout here from Greg, coupled with Aina. Milenkovic. Danscape says about Anderson. I didn't think Anderson was as good. I know you guys have shouted them out. James says Milenkovic. There's a Yates shout here. I did think Yates had a good game, and I actually thought he was the best of the three midfielders. But I could scroll through them all, but there's loads of Aina shouts. And Bob mentions Nico Williams. Nico got it in the ground, I think. I wasn't really on board with that. I was a bit surprised, but he wasn't bad at all. What about you, Fothers?
Yeah, Ola Aina for me. I think he's just getting better and better, isn't he? And like Paul just alluded to there, he defending, attacking, when he's running with the ball, when he's turning, he's just absolute quality, and hopefully he'll just continue to get better and better. And Milenkovic, who I think has been the absolute signing of the season for me. I think when you look at our set piece record last year, I know we've talked about it on the podcast a lot. Murillo needed somebody alongside him, and that's not. Willy Bolly was great, and Willy Bolly's great to have around the club. But I think what Milenkovic has done for Murillo, and what he does week in, week out without any fuss is just superb. But Ola Aina would get my vote today.
A couple of shouts as well for Yates's bit of skill on the touchline. I haven't seen that from out of him, but yeah, that was a good one. I would go slightly different. I would go Milenkovic, just going on what I watched in the ground. Just people around us just going, "Oh, that guy's a beast!" Like he's just winning everything, and he reads the game so well, so responsible. So Milenkovic for me, then Aina. But I'd also give a shout for Murillo, who seems to have come on just as a defender this season. That corner right at the end, which I don't think was a corner from where I was sat, he was the one who won the first contact on that and won it well. So, it probably sums up that we've all gone defenders and everyone in the chat's gone defenders. It felt like that kind of performance. It felt like the Palace game a bit, kind of 1-0 where we were good. We looked a good unit, and I think like I say earlier, I think we deserved the win, but only narrowly. On another day, that could easily have been a 0-0, and we'd probably sat here moaning. But I think we edged it 1-0 certainly. Any final thoughts or anything, or give us your thoughts actually, Paul, on the Man City game as much as anything. What are you hoping for? What are you expecting in terms of performance and team selection?
Good question. I'd be interested to see what. Obviously, we've got this extra day. So Man City.
Yeah, they play tomorrow against Liverpool, obviously.
Yeah. Just on that, just go off on a slight tangent. Actually, from our games coming up, particularly, is it Villa and then Brentford? So for both of those games, we've got 7 days recovery. They've both got 4 because of either Champions League or League Cup games in a week. So that's something just to keep an eye on in the next few weeks. But yeah, in terms of City, they've obviously in a very different place to what they're used to at the moment. So I would say beware the wounded bear, I think possibly. I think that they're obviously going to get their act together at some point soon and probably give somebody a thumping. So I just hope that that's not us on Wednesday night. But I don't necessarily think it will be. we've got to see what happens tomorrow with them against Liverpool. That could be the day they bounce back, and they could go and put 2 or 3 past Liverpool and catch them cold, and all of a sudden that City are back in charge of not in charge, but back in the title race, and everyone's sort of talking them up again. So I think it could go one of many ways on Wednesday. I just hope that we are solid, compact, and I think again, given the performance that Hudson-Odoi had today and how he struggled, that may almost make Nuno's mind up to go back to that sort of Liverpool template and play a box midfield and leave the wingers out to start with and see how we get on. So I would, as far as team selection, that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment for that game. We don't necessarily need to give them too much respect, but let's see what happens to them tomorrow before we get too carried away about going and continuing their bad run.
Yeah, that's the key point for us, isn't it? That Liverpool game will probably tell us a lot more. But just in terms of from us, what do you think we can do? How would you like to see us go about it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see them win tomorrow. I'd like them to come out of the bad run before Wednesday night. So let them beat Liverpool tomorrow. It's always good to see Liverpool lose anyway. But I think today was good because I felt the defence were back to where we were prior to the last couple of games, the Newcastle game and the Arsenal game. And I'm glad we've had today to keep that clean sheet. And if we'd gone into Man City having lost 3 on the bounce and conceded 3 goals and whatever, then I think it might be a different game. But I think somebody mentioned it earlier. I'd like to see Nico Dominguez back in. I think we need to tighten up that midfield. And probably, like Paul says, just maybe go back to the Anfield mindset. It worked at Anfield. Why not? And actually, let's take the game to them a little bit rather than show them some respect, but not too much respect. And let's get in their faces. We can do that. We've got the players to do that. So let's go without any fear. At the end of the day, Man City away, when the fixtures come out, it's a free hit, as Anfield was. Let's go and see what we can do. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not against seeing Morato start but playing as a counter-attacking team. It'll be an interesting one. Not fearful of it, certainly. One to look forward to. So we'll enjoy it. We'll enjoy that one. Let's tell you what's coming up then. So Monday at noon with Temps, Mikey, and Fletch. Not Gary, so I can't pass on the stuff. I don't think he'd be bothered anyway if people were annoyed at him, to be honest. But and then Tuesday preview on the game. Wednesday, obviously a post-match show, but I'll shoehorn in an opposition preview with Stephen Mullaney, who's an Ox cricketer who is a big City fan. That's the plan for that. Thursday evening with James Belshaw, the Harrogate keeper. Maybe we'll draw them in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. We'll find out on Monday evening. But he's the guest for that. We'll do a bit of a review and look ahead to the United game. And then we'll have an opposition United game preview and then a post-match show on Saturday. So it's a very, very busy week coming up. But it's funny, when you were talking, Fathers, I was thinking, someone said to me as well, that takes the pressure off beating them today. It's like, well, we're 6th in the Premier League. There's not that much pressure. Even if we'd lost today, we'd still be 7th. But I do take the point. We said going into it, it was a big swing mentally to win that game, not go into City, United, Villa, Brentford, Tottenham. Brentford are 7th, so they're a good team. On the back of 3 defeats, thinking, Christ, we could lose 7 or 8 games in a row. At least now we can relax and look forward to this. And I'm pretty confident we'll be top 10 at Christmas now, which is magnificent. So very much enjoying it. Paul, anything you want to add before we go?
No, just to echo what you just said. Look, we're 6th in the league. It's the 30th of November. We're in the top 6, and we're on 22 points now. And last season, albeit it was after a points deduction, everyone remembers that Fulham game on the 2nd of April where Morgan Gibbs-White ran the game. We went into that game on the 2nd of April on 22 points. It's now the 30th of November. We're on 22 points. So just let that sink in. Whatever your frustrations are about today, get over that pretty quickly, because we're in a magical space for Nottingham Forest Football Club, given what we've all experienced in the last 25, 30 years or so. So let's just embrace it, enjoy it. Whatever happens at City and Old Trafford next 7 days, just enjoy the ride and keep positive and enjoy the space that we're in.
I can't believe you marked Southern's that stat after 50 minutes. Oh, you might not have even got that in at the end there. That's a magnificent stat on the Fulham one. So yeah, well done to you. Fathers, any final thoughts before we go?
Well, given my comments about Christmas and bringing the podcast down on its knees,
Well,
this
that was
probably
my
won't,
fault. Yeah.
well, this probably won't surprise you that I'm still looking at how many points we are above the bottom three, but that probably won't surprise anyone at all. Other than to say a point off third, like you say, a point off third going into December is stuff that dreams are made of, isn't it? And despite everything that I've said, I am enjoying it, and long may it continue. And can I just give one shout out for the Nav, Matt, before I go? Is that all right?
I think I'm contractually obliged. You can give one shout out for the Nav. So yeah,
okay. Good. Well, you mentioned Rick Parfitt Jr. doing his Christmas concert in the big shed. We've actually got Paul McGregor's band after the Villa game in 2 weeks' time. So 2 weeks today, Aston Villa at home, 5:30 kickoff. After that, straight back to the Nav. Paul McGregor is on stage. What more could you want? The Leon team.
I was at school with Paul McGregor. He was at school with me. Yeah, at secondary school. Good lad.
There you go.
I cannot believe you're looking at the relegation zone, by the way. Just looking at
How many
Wolves have got 9 points and they're
are they?
18.
They're third from bottom on 9. So there you go. So we're 13 points. So I'm smiling. It's good.
Just looking at the bottom then, Southampton 5, Ipswich on 9, Wolves on 9, Palace on 9. Leicester, Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester on 10, Everton on 11, and there's us in 6th on 22, level on points with Chelsea, who play tomorrow, tucked in nicely behind Man City, 1 point behind them. So we could be 1 point behind Man City going into that game, very realistically. Although we were level on points with Arsenal, and that didn't go so well. So let's not get too excited on that. But yeah, enjoying it. Right. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that. Like I say, do us a favor, hit like on the video, hit subscribe. You can become a channel member. You can sign up for our Patreon, and you can please do give us a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. Paul Morley, lovely to have your company this evening. Thank you very much.
Very much enjoyed it. Thank you, Matt. Cheers, fathers.
Simon Fotheringham, thank you very much.
Matt, an absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot. And good to see you, Paul. Thank you.
It was a great pleasure. It was great to have everyone's company this evening. 450 people with us right now. Very much enjoyed it. Have a good weekend, everyone. If we don't see you on Monday, we shall see you soon.